In a village shadowed by tyranny and betrayal, a young man knelt silently under the scorching sun, his wrists bound by chains that cut into his skin. Around him, whispers of deceit and treachery echoed through the halls of the kingdom he had served faithfully all his life. Yet, despite the pain, the humiliation, and the knowledge that freedom lay just beyond his grasp, he did not run. He stayed, because loyalty, he believed, was worth more than his own safety, and the cost of betrayal would reveal truths no one expected. Kwame had been a servant for as long as he could remember. But unlike many, his service was not born out of fear or obligation. It was born of devotion. He had watched over his master's household, defended the family's honor, and sacrificed his own comfort to ensure their safety. When betrayal struck from within, leaving him bound and abandoned, the world around him crumbled. Villagers whispered that no one would risk themselves for a servant. Kwame refused to abandon the people and the household he had pledged his life to protect. Kwame had always known the household was fraught with secrets. Political rivals, jealous neighbors, and ambitious courtiers constantly circled like predators. But nothing could have prepared him for the betrayal that came one stormy night. A trusted aide, who Kwame had considered a friend, orchestrated a plan to frame him for theft and treason. As lightning split the sky, Kwame was dragged from his home, his hands bound, and accused before the very master he had sworn to protect. Despite the shock, Kwame's heart did not falter. Even as he was thrown into the cold, dark cell, he thought of his master's young children and the villagers who depended on the household. Fear threatened to overwhelm him, but his loyalty was stronger than any fear. Inside the cell, Kwame felt the weight of iron around his wrists and the stench of betrayal in the air. Days passed and no one came to hear his side. The world seemed to have abandoned him. Yet even in solitude, Kwame remained vigilant. He listened to the guards' conversations, observed the changing routines, and quietly noted the weaknesses in the household's security. Every night, he whispered prayers for his master and the innocent lives at risk. His chains could bind his body, but his mind and heart remained free. Through patience and silent determination, Kwame began plotting not revenge, but a way to protect those he loved, even from behind bars. Outside the cell, his master, Chief Ase, had begun to realize something was amiss. Rumors of theft and betrayal had spread quickly, but the evidence did not add up. Loyal friends and villagers began to speak of Kwame's unwavering devotion, recalling moments where he had risked his own life to protect the household. Though Chief Ase trusted Kwame with his life, the weight of responsibility left him conflicted. How could he act when the council demanded punishment, and the law offered no leniency for servants, no matter their loyalty? It was in this moment of doubt that the seed of true justice began to take root, one that would depend on Kwame's courage to survive and act. Kwame had long observed the household's daily routines. He knew the guards' habits, the weak points in the walls, and the secret passages known only to a few. Using this knowledge, he devised a plan to warn his master without exposing himself to further danger. Late at night, under the cover of darkness, he began tapping messages into the walls using a code only his master would recognize. Each tap, though faint and seemingly innocuous, carried critical information, an impending threat from the corrupt aide, and the arrival of outsiders who meant to exploit the household's vulnerability. Kwame's ingenuity became a lifeline for the people he had sworn to protect. The days stretched on, testing Kwame's resolve. Hunger gnawed at his belly, bruises from chains throbbed painfully, and the taunts of guards tried to erode his spirit. Yet Kwame's faith in his master and the belief that loyalty must be preserved under all circumstances kept him upright. Through whispered prayers and silent meditation, he drew strength from memories of his first days in service, the lessons of honesty, courage, and steadfastness instilled in him by the elders. It was these lessons that reminded him, true devotion is never measured by comfort or safety, but by sacrifice and moral courage. Rumors began to reach the council that Kwame had remained faithful despite his imprisonment. Witnesses came forward, villagers, fellow servants, even minor officials attesting to his loyalty and the suspicious behavior of the aide who betrayed him. Chief Ase, now fully aware of Kwame's true character, secretly began orchestrating a plan to expose the corruption. With Kwame's silent guidance from within the cell, the master and his allies started setting traps, gathering evidence. and preparing to confront those who sought to destroy the household from within. One night, Kwame saw an opportunity. A lone guard, bribed by the traitorous aide, left his post unguarded. Using a hidden lockpick smuggled by a fellow prisoner, Kwame freed himself quietly. He moved through the shadows of the compound, risking capture or death, to leave messages and warnings for Chief Asay. Each step was perilous. Every creak of wood, every whisper of wind could betray him. Yet Kwame pressed forward, driven by a singular purpose: to protect the household and ensure justice prevailed. His courage became a silent beacon in a world filled with treachery. With Kwame's guidance, Chief Asay and loyal allies confronted the traitorous aide and his supporters. Evidence of betrayal and corruption was laid bare before the council and villagers. The mastermind's plan crumbled, revealing the depths of deceit that had ensnared not only Kwame, but the entire household. Kwame, though exhausted and bruised, stood proudly. His faithfulness and courage had turned the tide, saving lives and restoring honor to the household. The villagers, witnesses to his heroism, began to speak of loyalty, integrity, and the power of moral courage that transcends fear. In the days following the confrontation, Kwame received recognition not for wealth or title, but for the unwavering devotion he had shown. Chief Asay publicly praised him, reinstating his position and granting him responsibilities that reflected his wisdom and courage. The household began to heal, the bonds between master, servant, and village stronger than ever. Kwame's story became a symbol that true loyalty and faith can withstand betrayal, danger, and suffering, and that sometimes the smallest acts of courage carry the greatest impact. Kwame continued to serve with the same heart, but now with respect and admiration from all who knew him. He mentored younger servants, taught villagers lessons of courage and integrity, and ensured that the story of loyalty, sacrifice, and justice would not be forgotten. Though betrayed and bound, he had stayed, and in doing so, he proved that love for others, courage under fire, and unwavering devotion could change the course of fate itself. His legacy became immortal, a reminder that even in a world of betrayal, faithfulness can triumph. Kwame's journey teaches us that loyalty is not measured by ease or reward, but by the strength to stay true when the world turns against you. Betrayal may break chains and test the heart, but courage, faith, and devotion can restore justice, heal wounds, and leave a legacy that inspires generations. In the end, Kwame showed that staying true is sometimes the greatest risk and the greatest triumph of all. Even after the betrayal was exposed, Kwame faced lingering challenges. Some villagers still doubted his loyalty, haunted by the rumors of theft and deceit. The master's household, though restored, was fragile. Kwame had to navigate delicate social dynamics, proving not just his courage but the sincerity of his heart. Slowly, through consistent acts of service, protection, and guidance, he rebuilt trust, reminding everyone that true character reveals itself through action, not words. Despite the triumph, shadows of betrayal still lingered. Kwame occasionally awoke in the night, haunted by the memory of chains and the feeling of isolation. The aide who had tried to ruin him had left a lasting imprint of fear and mistrust. Kwame knew he had to face these memories, or they would cloud his judgment in the future. Through meditation, reflection, and storytelling, he began to transform pain into wisdom, teaching the young and old alike that adversity is a tool for growth. Kwame started mentoring the younger servants and village youth, passing on lessons of loyalty, courage, and patience. Through exercises in responsibility, discipline, and moral decision-making, he cultivated a new generation of leaders. These teachings reinforced his belief that a servant's influence is not confined to tasks and chores, but extends to shaping values, character, and the ethical backbone of an entire community. The peace of the village was soon threatened by rival factions seeking to exploit the household's wealth and influence. Traders and mercenaries from neighboring lands attempted to manipulate politics and unsettle the local community. Kwame, aware of the dangers, used his keen observation skills and prior experiences to anticipate moves against the household. Through careful planning, he positioned loyal allies to counter threats before they escalated, demonstrating that vigilance and wisdom are as important as courage. Kwame continued to act behind the scenes, quietly protecting villagers and servants alike. He repaired failing irrigation systems, ensured food supplies remained secure, and quietly settled disputes before they escalated. Though few recognized his work immediately, the effects of his vigilance became apparent in the thriving community around him. His heroism was not in recognition, but in service a lesson he silently passed to all who observed his unwavering commitment. With new challenges came new responsibilities. Kwame now had to mediate disputes, counsel villagers, and advise his master on governance. The weight of these duties was heavy, and occasionally he questioned whether his sacrifices were worth the strain. Yet every time he saw the village prosper, children laughing, and justice restored, he remembered why he stayed. The meaning of loyalty lies in protecting what you love, even at personal cost. Kwame worked to repair relationships strained during the betrayal. Some villagers had been swayed by false rumors, while others remained wary. Through open dialogue, demonstrations of fairness, and acts of courage, he slowly rekindled trust. It was a painstaking process, but by showing integrity and consistency, Kwame proved that loyalty, once tested, could emerge even stronger, forging bonds that endured beyond fear and suspicion. When a band of raiders threatened the outskirts of the village, Kwame's leadership was put to the ultimate test. Organizing defenses, instructing villagers in safety measures, and personally confronting the raiders, he displayed bravery that inspired all who watched. His actions reaffirmed that courage is most powerful when it protects others rather than seeking glory for oneself. The village survived the threat intact thanks to his vigilance and decisive action. Kwame's experiences, once considered the misfortune of betrayal and imprisonment, became sources of wisdom. He counseled not only the household but neighboring villages on governance, diplomacy, and ethics. His advice was sought far and wide, and his reputation grew as a man of integrity, foresight, and moral strength. The boy once bound in chains had become a pillar of his community, a living testament to resilience and dedication. The village organized a celebration in honor of Kwame and his enduring faithfulness. Stories of his courage, patience, and integrity were shared around fires and in communal gatherings. Children acted out scenes of his heroism, elders praised his wisdom. The household flourished under the guidance of a servant who had risked everything. Through this celebration, loyalty became a cultural ideal, a value to be aspired to by generations to come. Kwame reached out to families torn apart by fear and mistrust during the betrayal. By mediating disputes and fostering understanding, he rebuilt connections fractured by rumor and suspicion. Slowly, the social fabric of the village strengthened, uniting families and neighbors under a common purpose, mutual respect, vigilance, and shared prosperity. Kwame's role extended beyond service. It became a bridge between hearts and minds. Patience remained a constant trial. Some villagers remained skeptical, while new threats occasionally emerged. Kwame's endurance was tested repeatedly, yet he embraced the principle that time often reveals truth more effectively than anger or confrontation. Through measured action, reflection, and unwavering commitment, he showed that patience and steadfastness often achieve what force and impulsiveness cannot. Kwame began sharing his story with younger generations, using storytelling as a tool to teach courage, resilience, and moral responsibility. He recounted the nights in chains, the whispers of betrayal, and the silent strategies that protected the household. These stories inspired hope and determination, ensuring that lessons of loyalty and integrity would endure long after he was gone. With wisdom gained through experience, Kwame turned attention to securing the village's future. He trained young leaders, ensured sustainable practices in agriculture and trade, and developed systems to detect and prevent corruption. His actions emphasized that loyalty is not only about serving the present, but also about safeguarding the future, leaving a lasting impact on the community. Years later, Kwame's story was told far beyond the village. He had transformed from a young servant, betrayed and bound, into a symbol of loyalty, courage, and unwavering dedication. The household prospered, the villagers thrived, and the legacy of a man who risked everything for faithfulness endured across generations. His life proved that integrity, patience, and devotion can withstand betrayal and injustice, leaving a mark that time cannot erase. Kwame realized that loyalty extended beyond the household. It was about the entire village. He organized communal efforts, rebuilding damaged homes, reinforcing defenses, and sharing resources during lean seasons. Villagers, inspired by his courage, began working together for the first time, creating a sense of unity and collective strength. Kwame taught that true leadership is not about authority, but about inspiring trust and collaboration among people. Years of betrayal had left emotional scars, both for Kwame and the villagers. He began counseling those who had harbored resentment, helping them forgive and move forward. By teaching the value of reconciliation and understanding, Kwame restored harmony within the community. Slowly, he transformed bitterness into compassion, proving that healing requires both courage and humility. Kwame's reputation as a wise and just servant grew. Nearby villages sought his counsel on matters of dispute and leadership. He shared lessons learned from his own hardships, patience, observation, and the importance of choosing loyalty over fear. By doing so, he not only protected his village, but became a source of moral guidance for the region. As the village thrived, new challenges emerged. Disputes over land, water rights, and trade tested Kwame's judgment. Each decision required careful balance between justice and mercy. By listening attentively and acting with integrity, Kwame navigated these trials successfully, showing that leadership grounded in fairness strengthens communities more than power ever could. Kwame focused on teaching young villagers the values of loyalty, courage, and wisdom. He instructed them in practical skills, farming, defense, and household management, while embedding moral lessons in every task. The youth admired him not just as a servant, but as a teacher and protector, ensuring that his knowledge and principles would endure long after he was gone. Despite peace, external threats loomed. Raiders from distant lands sought to exploit the village's prosperity. Kwame, always vigilant, prepared defenses and trained the villagers to respond strategically. Through foresight, courage, and careful planning, he neutralized the threat without unnecessary bloodshed, proving that true strength lies in preparation and wisdom, not brute force. Kwame's faith in loyalty and virtue was tested once again. A powerful noble sought to manipulate the villagers for his own gain, spreading rumors to destabilize the community. Kwame remained steadfast, countering deceit with truth, patience, and transparency. His example reminded everyone that integrity and moral courage are more powerful than intimidation or lies. Kwame organized festivals, storytelling nights, and cultural celebrations to restore joy and connection within the village. By reviving traditions, he strengthened bonds and instilled pride in heritage. The community flourished not only materially but spiritually, recognizing that culture and shared values are as vital as security and prosperity. Kwame's wisdom and courage drew allies from neighboring villages. Merchants, leaders, and travelers sought his guidance. Together, they formed alliances that strengthened trade, security, and cultural exchange. Kwame showed that loyalty is not just about serving one household. It can build networks of mutual trust that endure across communities. Even as the village prospered, Kwame faced personal struggles, doubts, fatigue, and memories of his betrayal. Amina, a close confidant and wise counselor, helped him reflect and regain clarity. Through meditation, reflection, and dialogue, Kwame learned that vulnerability is not weakness, but a source of inner strength that allows one to lead with empathy. When a natural disaster, struka, severe drought, Kwame coordinated relief efforts, distributing food, water, and aid fairly. His strategic planning and tireless work saved many lives, proving that true loyalty involves sacrifice and service during the most challenging times. Villagers saw him not just as a servant, but as a guardian of their lives and well-being. Kwame's deeds began inspiring others beyond the village. Stories of his bravery, wisdom, and loyalty spread across the region. Young people and leaders from distant lands came to learn from him. His legacy demonstrated that selfless acts of courage can create ripples of hope and change far beyond what one individual might imagine. The village held a grand celebration in honor of Kwame's contributions. Songs, dances, and storytelling highlighted his journey from betrayal and imprisonment to heroism and leadership. The children acted out his bravery, while elders praised his unwavering devotion. The celebration reinforced that loyalty, courage, and integrity are values to be cherished and emulated. Kwame devoted time to teaching the younger generation practical and moral lessons. He shared the importance of observation, patience, and moral courage, ensuring that the wisdom gained through his trials would guide future leaders. By passing down his knowledge, he guaranteed the village's resilience for generations. Years later, Kwame reflected on the journey he had endured. Betrayed and bound, he had stated not for recognition, but for love, loyalty, and duty. The village thrived, the people respected him, and the lessons he instilled became a lasting legacy. His story became a symbol that integrity and courage can triumph over betrayal, inspiring generations to come. Kwame's efforts had transformed the village. Where distrust and fear once lingered, there was now unity and hope. Families worked together, elders shared wisdom freely, and young villagers embraced the values of loyalty and courage. Kwame reminded everyone that a community thrives not only through protection but through love, cooperation, and shared responsibility. Kwame sought out allies and friends he had lost contact with during the years of turmoil. Childhood companions, former villagers, and distant relatives returned, drawn by stories of his heroism. Rekindling these bonds reminded the village that the strength of a community lies in its relationships, and that forgiveness and trust can rebuild what betrayal once tore apart. Kwame devoted time to mentoring and teaching. Every story of his past, every moment of courage and patience, became a lesson for the youth. Through storytelling, practical demonstrations, and guidance in moral decision-making, he ensured that the values of loyalty, resilience, and integrity would survive long after his own time. The children of the village grew under Kwame's guidance. Inspired by his example, they learned to defend their homes, nurture the land, and lead with fairness. They became a reflection of the lessons he had imparted: strong, ethical, and courageous. Kwame saw in them the promise of a future where loyalty and virtue would continue to flourish. A final test approached. A powerful outsider sought to manipulate the village for personal gain. Kwame, now seasoned and wise, anticipated every move, using strategy, diplomacy, and courage to protect his people. With the villagers' support, he neutralized the threat without bloodshed, proving that leadership rooted in intelligence and morality can triumph over force and deceit. Kwame took a moment to reflect on his journey. From the chains that bound him to the loyalty that freed him, every trial had shaped his character. He recognized that true heroism lies not in recognition or titles, but in the consistent choice to do what is right, even when no one is watching. The village held a grand celebration to honor their growth, resilience, and unity. Kwame's story of loyalty and courage became central to the festivities. Through song, dance, and storytelling, the villagers commemorated the servant who risked everything for the good of all. His legacy inspired a renewed sense of community and purpose. Kwame's influence extended beyond strategy and protection. It touched hearts. He showed that leadership is not about power, but empathy, patience, and moral courage. The villagers now understood that their strength lay in integrity, compassion, devotion to one another, a lesson that would shape generations to come. Kwame began documenting his experiences and teachings for future generations. Stories of betrayal, courage, and loyalty were recorded, ensuring that the wisdom he had gained would not be lost. He wanted every young villager to understand that moral courage and steadfastness can change the course of history, and that loyalty is a force stronger than fear or oppression. In the quiet evenings, Kwame sat by the village square, watching children play and elders share stories. The man who had once been betrayed and bound had become a symbol of unwavering loyalty, courage, and integrity. His life had proven that even in the darkest times, devotion and moral strength can illuminate a path for others. The story of Kwame, the faithful servant who risked everything, would live on forever, inspiring hearts and shaping destinies across generations. Kwame, faithful servant who risked everything, becomes a symbol of unwavering loyalty, courage, and integrity, leaving a legacy that inspires generations.